the way our brains work. That Maslow's hierarchy, those levels of ascension is really what it comes down to. So that sense of belonging is a predecessor step on Maslow's hierarchy of needs to the sense of self-esteem. So in order to have self-esteem, I have to feel like I belong. And self-esteem, pride matters more than money for a lot of employees. That is where true high performance comes from. When I take pride in my work, even when no one's looking. So to me, that's the reason. First of all, when a new employee starts, every minute they are with you is either connecting or disconnecting. There is no such thing as idle time when it comes to employee connection. So it's very important to connect with intent, proactively, intentionally drive towards connecting with those new hires to increase the likelihood that they stay. Lunch with somebody that very first day. Joe and I both have talked for a long time about Joe McMurray. He's the one who created it. We've talked a long time about that very first day with your new hires. Do we give them a seat at the break table? That's something that should be done with intent. Again, proactively. That starts to make them feel like they fit in, they belong, they can talk to people. If we don't give them a seat at the table, they're left to fend to themselves. And not everyone will just come in and introduce themselves and make themselves at home. That's a disconnector when we don't do that correctly. Another one of my favorite ones is collaboration. And folks, when I speak to this with them in person, they always at first seem to think, well, we can't collaborate with people until they have some experience. They don't know enough. I disagree. Some of your best collaboration comes from those fresh eyes, people who have not become inattentively blind to the way things are. And some of my best standard work revisions came from brand new hires asking those stupid questions that just made you realize, wow, this is an opportunity to do something much better than we always have. So some of my other favorite things to talk about, because again, they're real. We see it every day. When we pull into the parking lot, the great elite spaces reserved for big shot 1, big shot 2, big shot 3, big shot 4, and the rest of us, the parking lot is half gravel, half asphalt, and 100% potholes. And maybe you find a spot, maybe you don't. I'm just going to tell you it's an indicative thing of the way I might be treated when I walk inside that building, right? Maybe I might be treated like a second-class citizen. I don't think that's very connecting. Yeah, the top 4 signs you're about to lose employees, and they are very simple, and they're easy to see when you start to look, when you bother to look. They feel distanced from their colleagues. They don't feel like there's any reasonable interaction that's worthwhile. They don't feel like they do meaningful work. That doesn't mean just the products you make have to be meaningful. These are those other activities that we can do that they can participate in other than the job they must do, such as a balance committee, a peer review panel, the safety committee. The third reason, they feel like they don't fit in. This one doesn't need any real explanation. People fit in or they fit out. That's the way it works. And the fourth one is they don't feel like they're recognized for their work. And as I said in the webinar, too many of us, we don't realize we do it, but we manage by exception. We're always worried about what can go wrong, so we always look for what can go wrong. And when we never look for what can go right, and if all our efforts and conversations are about what can go wrong and what went wrong, then the perception is I never get told about the 99 things I did right. All I ever hear about is that one thing I did wrong. And that's toxic. So the next session, what's the true cost of your employee turnover? One of the myths that will bust right out of the gate. If I ask organizations, what do you think you spend every time you have to replace an employee to fill an open position? The myth that I consistently hear is it's between $200 to $500 probably. It is significantly more than that, significantly more than that. So what we're going to do is step through the different buckets. It's not going to be voodoo math. It's going to be very clear, straightforward. This is what you spend on overtime. If you don't like that bucket because you consider it a fixed cost, fine. Here's the second bucket, maybe the administration. Here's the third bucket, your idle equipment, underutilized equipment. So we're going to step through and people can take the pieces that they like or leave the pieces that they don't like.